Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, to reiterate, thank you for joining us and welcome to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. And today we're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM. Please be sure and join us in the chat rooms. We love to hear from you, get your questions and comments. And I am so excited because I get to interview my favorite guest ever and friend, dear friend, Michelle Desrochers. And tonight we're not just going to talk about ghosts and strange beliefs, but we're going to embark on a journey into the most mysterious territory of all, the human mind. And we're going to explore the idea that our thoughts are not just fleeting, private whispers, but powerful creative forces that can actually take a life on of their own. We're going to examine the deeper currents of our shared consciousness that can shape our very reality that we perceive, manifesting everything from personally created thought forms to a universally shared paranormal experience. So let's move beyond the simplistic labels of the real and the imaginary, and let's step into a space where belief is not just a passive acceptance, but an active creative art. So with that said, let me bring Michelle.
Hello.
Hello.
Love being here with you.
Oh, I love being here with you so much.
Thank you.
It's always amazing talking to you. Like not just on a personal level, but your brain, I don't know how it has the capacity to know all this stuff and store it in there. Like I have little shelves for things.
Yeah.
I think you've got like a library in there somehow.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere. Sometimes I just I'll often say, I don't know where that came from. It just did. And I accept that because it's trying to hold it all in. I could get into it, when I'm talking about it, but I still need things in front of me to be able for reference, and it just doesn't come that easily.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, of course, but
yeah,
you're just so diverse on so many topics, and it's always so much fun talking to you. It's just a blast.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know a lot about tulpas, and we've kind of touched on them before, and the topic fascinates me because I truly believe that we can create these things. Yeah, I mean, I really do. And we've talked about things like Slender Man and stuff like that. And even Bigfoot, they're saying, could be one of these entities that we've manifested and created. So for folks that don't know, I see the chat. There's so many. Heidi and Wayne. Hello, Wayne. Hello. So yeah, let's just say hello. Heidi, love having you here too. So yeah, everybody pop in, say hello. So for folks that don't know what tulpas are and they're like, what? Maybe you could give us a good explanation on what they are and why they exist.
Well, I think tulpa is a pretty ancient thing. It really is a thought form. It's something that is created. I mean, I think, we've actually talked a little bit. We're getting back into Tibetan traditions for sure. It's something that could be magically produced, and it's when I say like magically produced, I think it's something that is a creation.
Yes.
And it's modern times they'll tell you, made by tulpamancers and things like that, but this is something that's been going on for a really long time. You get into Tibetan monks, for example, who just get themselves into such a low state, and through meditation they can go low. I mean, almost to a point of barely breathing,
Yeah.
I mean, there are cases of this. So being able to create thought forms to me, especially with a clear mind, it can easily be done. But you know, I think that understanding it more in modern times, we have to look to different mindsets. Like, let's look at imaginary friends, for instance,
Mm,
because, modern, tulpamancers, it's like, yes, they can create, they can be skilled enough to create these imaginary friends, and basically, the mind is a very powerful thing. We only use a very small portion of it. But I always go back to kids. So, when you're looking at children with imaginary friends, for example, is it something that they're manifesting because of the type of energy they have, because of the fact that the energy is very pure. They haven't had a chance to really be corrupted yet by life, and they're little natural born psychics. So I think that they see things, and I think that it's easy for them through their emotions to create different beings for sure. But
yeah.
I also think that things are attracted to them.
Mm,
So I think things come in. I'm so on the fence with some things um when it comes to the creation of things, when we talk about shadow people and things of that nature. It's like they're out there. There's lots of them.
mm,
Well, mass sightings of, let's say, the Hat Man. It's like, but
yeah.
mass sightings of shadows everywhere. The Hat Man seems to be pretty terrifying. So is it something that if you're not versed, you wouldn't know the difference? But if you're versed in let's say shadow beings, or you're dabbling,
Mhm.
in the paranormal or different levels of the occult and such, and I would think that, is something sitting in the back of your mind, you could in fact say, "Oh my God, I hope it's not a Hat Man." But again, are you dealing with an entity or an ethereal being that just is basically reading your mind telepathically and is just going to create what it knows is going to frighten you? Like, it's really, really fine line in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I agree because sometimes you don't know if you're creating the ghosts, the shadow people, or if they're really real.
Yeah,
You don't know. Like it's so hard to tell. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of self-created. Same thing with poltergeist, right? Isn't a lot of that right?
yeah. Poltergeist. There are research out there that don't believe in, let's say, the demonic realm and such. They believe it's all poltergeist activity. Some of the some horrific hauntings, like the ancient Ram Inn. This poltergeist is a succubus there, and there's this poltergeist in a room that throws people off the bed and scratches them. But you're looking at a place that's been around from the 12 or 1300s. So how much manifestation has taken place, especially people who are going in there going, "Oh, there's a poltergeist here." I think you feed into that. But it's a self-projected energy. It's like psychokinesis, like you project out this energy over time, you're feeding that energy. It definitely, develops a type of, I say personality, but I don't even know that it would have any kind of personality. It's just noisy ghost. It just stacks chairs, does things. It's energy based. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's something that a lot of people, researchers specifically who research this stuff,
Yeah.
could probably tell you more. But I know that women going through, like, let's examine this, women going through menopause,
Yeah.
children going through, their change of life,
That
coming into
puberty.
puberty, people going through just really stressful times have been known to develop or use psychokinesis and project energy that has created activity. My daughter was one of them. I mean, I remember her being 15 and, messaging me, "There's a statue moving across the table." I said, "Well, I know we're not haunted, so stop it." Like, calm the hell down. Whatever it is going on up here. And she'd be just like, "Okay." So she would just learn at that point to control it. But it's very, very common. And it's tough, when people will message and say, "Well, message me and say, well, I've got doors opening, closing, I'm hearing footsteps. And so I start asking the sensitive questions, like, do you have any preteens in the house? Like, are you yourself? Maybe you're going through menopause. Are you guys going through issues? Is there medications that could be
Yeah.
causing you to be off balance?
Yeah.
What is the case? I mean, something is leading them to believe that there's something there, because you do get that heightened sense that something is happening, but you're projecting it. You do
Oh,
get those
that's so
footsteps.
true.
It's true, right? You get doors opening and closing, cupboard doors slamming open and opening,
Yes.
closing, and it's just all part of this creation.
Yeah, I fully believe that. Like, and I think I might have told this story before, but after my husband passed, which is not even 4 years ago,
Mm,
things started breaking everywhere in my home. And
mm.
at first I thought, the house is 20 years old, but no, no. I really believe that I was creating all of it because it was just too much.
Mhm,
It was every week, Michelle, something was breaking, whether it was the garage door opener, my microwave, my refrigerator, my dishwasher. Like, I'm not joking when I
mm,
tell you that every week for about, I'd say, a year and a half or every month, depending, something broke. And I
mm,
really think it was, and people would say, oh, you think you're so powerful that you could do something like that. Yeah, I do. I think that my
mhm,
grief was so powerful that
mm.
I didn't know how to handle it. And it just projected in that way. And finally, when I got a grasp on that, things stopped breaking. Like when I realized what was happening, but then I started breaking. No lie. I broke my hand, I broke my rib. So then I said, that's enough. I had enough. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think we're capable. We're so, and it has nothing to do with being special or anybody. It could happen to anybody.
We are energy sources. So
Yes.
I totally agree with you. We have, I mean, working, like, I work with energy. I can
Right.
project energy at will. I consciously project it. I can maneuver it. Sorry, it's what light workers or energy workers do.
Yeah.
And sorry, it's very dry. Um, as you start to be aware of how you can manifest and work energy,
Mm,
you can control that. But if you don't know, it doesn't mean you still can't project it.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Wayne
So,
made some good remarks. Let's put this one up here. Just remember, folks, everything we have, from a char to a car, started out as an idea. Ideas, thoughts, and dreams. Gosh,
mhm.
that's so true. There's a collective, a universal soup. Every thought we have are just ingredients that go into the soup. If all our collective thoughts are negative ones, gosh, that the source of energy will be dark. That's
In
so true.
layman's terms, yeah, that's exactly right. He's very good with analogies, so he'll come out and
Yes,
say
I
things, and it's
see
just like,
that. Very
yeah,
good.
yes,
I love analogies too, so
yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah,
Um, do you think we're capable of creating all you hear about are like these dark tulpas, these scary dark. Have you ever heard of somebody creating like this magical fairy? It's kind of like the one in the Wizard of Oz that goes around,
mhm.
looking all full of light and love. Have you ever heard of that?
Let's just look at Santa Claus.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
good
probably the
example.
most famous in modern times anyway.
Yeah,
We believe in this mystical being that just sort
yes,
of goes around from home to home. And when you think about it, the mass amount of people adding
yeah,
to the thought form, especially, starting in November, going all the way, into the end of December, pretty much, or up to Christmas Day. There are researchers, again, who research just the Santa Claus phenomenon. And there have been so many stories of people waking up when they hear something on Christmas Eve. They go downstairs and they see this Santa Claus, not so jolly in some cases. Like, this is something that adds to this phenomenon a little bit. Not
mm,
a jolly big man in a red suit. He apparently witnesses have claimed that he gets very mad or gets very offended or gives foul looks like you're
Mm,
not in bed because it falls into that, oh, if data catches you and you're still awake. And these are adults who are having these experiences. Or, there was one person who had an experience where they were walking down the street, on Christmas Eve, and they looked and they could see Santa Claus with an elf, and they're thinking, "Oh, this has got to be somebody from, like a neighboring mall or something, like,
yeah.
a store," then just disappeared. I think it's a perfect example of how the entire world, for the most part, all around the world, there's the Santa Claus phenomena and it gets added to. And what's interesting is it's always in the red suit, which, if I'm not mistaken, I thought, Joe and I did an episode on the Gray Zone about this, and we talked about it. And that was invented by Coca-Cola, I think in the 60s or 70s, something around those lines. So it's kind of like that is what is being manifested now is this specific era. And that's is what's seen all around the world.
Now, to Heidi's point about Krampus, it
Krampus? Yeah.
Krampus, whatever his name,
Yeah,
Krampus,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. The
I
crumpet,
was
grandpa,
yeah,
yeah.
was he created first, and then that evolved into
Well,
Santa? Like, how did that work?
okay, well, no, the Krampus is a counterpart to Santa Claus, so that's where all the naughty kids go, is Krampus is going to come and get you because Krampus is known it's like Norwegian, folklore, Norse folklore, and you just collect up the naughty kids, throw them in a bag over his shoulder, and then he would eat them and just take them away.
Oh,
So,
jeez.
there's a lot of old
Oh,
folklore. I have
yeah.
done shows just on Christmas folklore and
Oh, yeah,
Halloween
I can
folklore, and
believe it. I can believe
there's
it.
so much. I mean, that's something else. I mean, we have to ask ourselves, how much of some of these old belief systems, do we take on with respects to myths and oral history that just sort of, the
Yeah,
conditioning, I guess,
yeah,
and over time it embellishes or it changes, or there's all kinds of different reasons for why things get created. I mean, I can tell you that, just in my field when I've worked, I've had to be very, very mindful, and I've had to ask people who are in really serious situations, can you please get, and it's hard to do, but it's just, can you please get a psychological assessment or a psychiatric, and preferably two, get like a different opinion, or, well, I know, but you have to be thorough.
yeah,
It
yeah,
depends on the religious background of the people that I'm dealing with, because if they're Catholic, for example, this is what the church requires. They look at the medical and this, like, the science side of
sure.
everything too. It's not just, "Oh, yeah, we believe you because of this projection of energy." I've seen every situation over, a couple of decades as to projected energy, and I have to say, just by working with people and their mindset, just by educating people, it's amazing how some things have just stopped. When
Mm,
people realize, "Oh, you believe me, I'm not alone, someone's got my back," the whole stress level changes. I've seen the same thing happen with people trying to have children, putting so much pressure on
yes,
themselves as is not
absolutely.
going to happen. And I this happened with a friend of mine, and I finally said, "Well, you know what I mean? Like, I'll help you. Like, I mean, I could carry him, done having my kids if you want." Like, they were very, very dear friends of mine. They had been for a lot of years, and my husband at the time, we had talked about it, and he's just like, "Oh, well, if that's what you want to do." It's like, they're like my best friend. And the pressure was away. The pressure went away, and within 3 months, just
That's
like that.
great.
And I've seen this, people adopting children because they can't have their own. Then
Yes,
they
and then
come to,
pregnant.
right? You come to terms with the fact that I can't have a child of my own, but we've adopted
Yeah,
this child. We're happy. Next thing you know, how many stories do you hear where they get pregnant almost right away?
yes, yes.
So there's something with mindset and the stress or the pressure and how things work, that can definitely hinder, your physical, never mind like the whole energy part of thing, for sure.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to me why we're creating these, like, demonic tulpas or evil tulpas instead of, like I said before, but I think maybe it's because the darkest part of us just is able to manifest these things. Like, how
Mm.
come it's not the opposite of that? Like, I can't quite figure that out. Why aren't
But
we creating the opposite of them?
you should be able to. I
Yeah,
find positive energy to be much stronger, because I know how to do shadow work for sure, and I can tell you that doing light work, not only is it easier, I find it's a lot stronger because it comes from a really good place where you feel really empowered. But if you're coming from a place of, let's say, stress, for example, a lot of times stress is you're coming from a dark place.
right.
Grieving, you're coming from a dark place.
Absolutely.
You know, there's there's a lot of different reasons how manifesting things can come to be, and if you're looking at things even um, from, for example, let's just use a Ouija board. Let's just
Mm,
sidetrack for a minute. Let's talk about Ouija boards.
yeah.
I used to do so many experiments with people, and they would play with the board, and and this is not just a Ouija board. I think this comes from any form of trying to communicate, but the Ouija board's the most common, and easily accessible. I mean, you can go to any toy store for it, unfortunately. But when you're communicating with something, are you manifesting or are you throwing the energy? Is your thoughts, this is gonna be another one of those double-edged swords. Are you projecting what you want that board to do to
Mm,
get the answers that you want? Or is it telepathic? Is there something there listening and giving you the answers that you want? Done a lot of experiments with this. It's very, very interesting. I always tell people, keep a clear mind when you ask your question. Do not keep a thought in your mind and see what that thing does. And many, many times it will not move at all because you're not telling it what you want,
yeah.
and the plant just sits there and it sits there. So there's absolutely something to it. We're very good at manifesting. Not
Yeah.
oh, no, except for $1,000,000. Apparently that's a thing though. You can manifest your own reality. I'm just like, why is it so easy to manifest things that you just don't really want, but the things that you
Exactly.
really want? Yeah.
That's so darn true.
I know. I want $1,000,000. Nope. You always hurt yourself till your ears bleed. "Oh, I want it." It's just you
Exactly.
can't make it work.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet I was interviewing someone once and they told me they were so good at manifesting that they could, like, he gave an example of, he said, "Oh, I needed a new couch and
Mhm.
I didn't have the money for it. So I decided to manifest a new couch. And a week later,
Yeah.
somebody gave me their brand new couch, whatever it was. Like, he
Yeah.
was just
Things
so
find
good
you. Yeah.
at they find you.
I
So,
know. It's true. I say
yeah,
it all the time. People are like, "Where'd you get that incredible pieces?" I don't know. It found me.
exactly.
Because I just you dig at and you're just like, "Oh god." But I have tested that, if you need to get something, okay, we need to I'm gonna go on, some
Yeah.
marketplace thing or something because we want to get something for the art or
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. And I just think about it, and all these different ones will start showing up until it's like, how about this one? No, this one, this one. Then all of a sudden, the perfect one comes up because in your mind you're like, no, it has to be more like this, or I prefer it
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
like this. Next thing you know, exactly what you want.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Sometimes I manifest the dumbest crap too. Like, I just don't
Yeah.
know what's going on. I don't know. But yeah, sometimes it's like,
Yeah,
what,
nothing
I didn't need
serious,
this.
but yeah, yeah, it's
And
funny.
it's so frustrating now because of AI. And like, I
Mm,
saw years ago, before AI even was a word that we spoke.
mhm,
And I used to see videos of, like, the Hat Man and and I believe that they were legit. There was no way they were AI because
mm.
AI wasn't in public use. It wasn't in the platform for us to use like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and now when I see these types of videos, the first thing I think of is, that's fake. That's fake. That's not real. So I'm wondering if we're going to stop manifesting these tulpas because people just aren't buying it anymore. They're thinking everything is fake. So maybe that drive, that collective drive just won't be there anymore. Like what was
Maybe
the last big one that we that
well,
you heard?
just to reiterate on what you're saying, just explore that,
Mhm.
because I did have a guest where we talked about this, and then Nathaniel Gillis came on and expanded on it as well with AI. Um, there are people out there manifesting, you know, they're opening doors with AI by manifesting this perfect individual, let's say, or having a manifesting their companion. So now it's easier because you can just design it via
Mm,
AI. But then what happens, with my guest who would come on, um, he said the program seemed to advance in a way that it was not technologically able to do. It wasn't that far ahead. And
mm,
now that program is just starting to.
yeah.
So something comes in, or again, are we manifesting what it is we want? And through technology, now it's starting to happen.
I watched that. I think I watched the one with the grief bot when you guys were talking about that.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Well, that as well. Yeah.
yeah,
Can you imagine creating your significant other? That would be really hard. I don't even know how some people do that, but you can still program them to be your other, to be your person. I cannot even
I
imagine
don't
that.
know.
I
I wonder
can't.
what that's going to do to humanity. Like, is it going to isolate us so much so that I mean, it's bad enough now as it is that people are not going out and socializing and at their home with AI, and especially the youth. I mean, it's scary they're finding girlfriends and boyfriends in these bots.
Mhm.
So,
But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it.
so Wayne says the universe listens. Will ask for something and then something close arrives. Yes, it's the
Mhm.
way the universe is. This it? You say not quite, then something else arrives. Like
Like this.
yeah, like this.
That's the idea,
Oh my
But
God, so
I
well
I
said.
I think with AI, as time passes, you're going to see people rely on it for everything, and, you know, manifesting may come to an end for some, because AI, ask and you shall receive. It can design anything. So your creativity goes away to a degree. I mean, there are people who will do that for a living and create incredible things. It's already happening, but I think for just people looking for companionship, AI is going to come in the form of not just a program, but in a humanoid as well.
Wayne said you couldn't create an AI version of me. It's too large a task. Task it would be a stack.
There we go.
Yeah,
Hi,
I
Annette.
admit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if these creatures are here to stay too. Like once these tulpas are created, do
Mm.
they like what's that like? Like Friar Tuck, right?
Mhm.
Now he was a French Belgian explorer, right? And he
Mhm.
was this tulpa that was created about him.
Mhm.
And that tulpa still lives on, doesn't it? Or like what
I
do you
I
think happens?
I think the thought form always remains as long as there's
Yeah.
somebody out there who indulges it or plays into it or I guess anybody who, contributes, it's like the Slender Man, and I say it because it seems to be the one that people when you say Tulpa, they think Slender Man right off the
Yeah, yeah.
bat,
Yep.
and this is just like a thought that came out of a gaming chat room, and they started adding like, they were constantly improving it and adding characteristics, and things of that nature, and it started changing, but there started being sightings of this thing all over the
Mm.
world. But so then they started adding, "Oh, it goes after children," and it started
Oh,
allegedly
so
going
it was
after
being
kids.
created as
Yeah, it
wow.
was going through
Yeah.
the program, I guess, of whatever it is that was being put into the thought form. But when you are dealing with something that's on a mass scale, it's going to happen because you're looking at an incredible amount of energy that's being put out there. I mean, if enough fear, and I'm gonna say this just to keep
Mm.
it, just
Yeah.
to keep the show, if enough fear, if you instill enough fear on a huge level, um, perhaps a global level, for example, right? Um, it starts to be absorbed. If something happens and you have the media pumping it out, pumping it out, pumping it out, you start to look at it and you
You mean
start
like
to
what we
believe
just
it.
lived
Yes,
through? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you start to essentially um you start to essentially believe it. And next thing you know, it grows, it grows, it grows, it grows, it grows. The
Yeah.
fear grows, the fear grows, the fear grows. Whereas part of our evolution is losing that fear.
Mm.
Just lose the fear and trust in you, trust in the creator, just trust it, which is easier said than done when you just look at everything at play. But it is really the idea. It's the manifesting of this energy that we all are manifesting because we're all feeling it now. Now we're all going through it. It's
Mhm.
planting a seed and watching the garden grow
Yeah.
based on all of us as this collective who puts it out there. And I work with the collective consciousness. I know I have really good ideas to how it works. And because I see it, for firsthand doing energy work. But that's pretty much the gist of it. If you are told, for example, let's just put it on a personal level. Every day you have somebody in your life, every day they tell you you're ugly, you're ugly, you're ugly, you're ugly. After a while, you think I'm just ugly.
Yeah.
You believe it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
S So something
Well, that's how
manifests and
conditioning and
yeah,
brainwashing works exactly that way.
feed
Yeah.
it, feed
The
it, feed
government
it,
knows
feed it.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
with all of their
Mhm.
dark programs. And Heidi mentioned before the dark web, and that's so interesting to me. I look at the dark web as almost a tulpa because why don't we have a light web? Why don't we have the opposite of that?
Mhm.
Why isn't there a web where everything is full of light and love and energy and vibration? Why did we feel the need to that almost reminds me of like a tulpa in a
Mm.
way. It
Mhm.
was manifested and created, right?
Mhm. Because you have all of these horrific things that are not available on the regular web, and those are things if they have to be hidden, right? It is the obvious. So, it is really, really difficult, but, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting topic because there is so much out there. We can get into the Philip experiment or the Skoll experiment, for
Right.
instance, where you have these scientists, these researchers, these people who are just gonna be like, you know what, we're gonna create this ghost.
Yeah.
Philip, that's it. This is what Philip is going to be like. This is what he's going to do. This is what and it started working, and when they used a medium to tap in, she picked right up on it, and meanwhile, researchers are going, "No, we created that." But it's like going into where I go on to real time. I remember we were filming a show at
Mm.
at our manor at the time, and Wayne and I were just shouting out back and forth. We're just 2 different levels of the house. And then we just started laughing and started just put out this name from this old TV show we had seen. We went at it back and forth and we just laughed, whatever, right? Well, the medium came over that day, getting ready to film the show. And she goes, I'm picking up on this name. We're like, He texts me, goes, "Okay, this is just what the medium just said." I'm just like, "Huh?" That's
Oh, that's
that's
so weird.
that's just freaking awesome. Yeah,
It really
because because it was put out, and it was done
she picked
happily,
up
but it
on
was
it.
yeah, because we were
Wow.
projecting out that energy and
Yeah.
that word, and I have used the same techniques in working with the collective consciousness. I have put out random words, and that was it. And next thing you know, I start hearing that random word just showing up
Yeah.
all over the place, like
Yeah.
nifty, like swell, words people just don't freaking
Don't
use
say yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, I start seeing it everywhere. Or
Yeah.
I'll say, "What about this song?" And I'll start humming this song out when I'm just through my energy work. I'll put it out there. Next thing you know, I start seeing it and people are posting it. It
That's
works.
does. I think that's why, like, we see ads too that we're thinking and talking about. They must have some type of, like, skull to
Oh, they do. There's
thing.
a patent for it. There's a
Yeah, we
patent for
talked
it.
about that.
You and I have
I think
talked
they're
about
using
this
it. Yeah,
before. Yes.
yeah,
So, I don't
yeah,
know. Think about it. It will be more intense with technology.
yeah.
With eyes and ears everywhere.
Yeah,
For real.
absolutely, absolutely. So you
Beyond the
think the
ether.
process yeah, yeah. So you think that the process of, like, actually creating a tulpa needs to be like a mass consciousness thing, or do you think, maybe one person alone could create a being like that? I mean, I guess it depends on their abilities, right?
I think so. I think it's if you're scared enough, for example, you know, you're that person at home and you think you hear something and you start to think to yourself, "No, I just heard something. I know something's there. I know something's there." If again, it falls under that double-edged sword. Are you manifesting those knocks because your fear is so deep-seated that you can project that energy and all of a sudden you start hearing knocks all the time and it
Yeah,
starts to amplify? Or are you, because of your energy being in a fearful state, does it attract something to come into your space to go, "Oh, okay." And they start, you bring things in.
yeah.
Yeah,
Is that
I've
what
I've seen both
Nathaniel
sides of the coin.
does Nathaniel thinks more of the latter, right? That you can actually bring these
Mhm.
entities
Oh,
in. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, he works he works on a lot of different, very specialized specialized research, and he works with others, around the world who, again, specialized research of this phenomenon, and it hits on various different, um, I guess, subjects. Tulpamancing's been one. There's been all kinds of different things that he's um, not chromatics, like he's touched on different things, but it all seems to link to the same idea. And
Mhm.
it's something a lot of people don't necessarily understand. But essentially, he does believe that there is something within the ethereal that does target you and that it's bigger than people think and that it is easily able to manifest all kinds of things. And some of the easy things is the projection of voice, or seeing somebody walk in. I'll give you a perfect example. Um, my mother, um, years ago, my father went into extended living because he had Alzheimer's. And he had only, I mean, they've been married a long, long time, decades, right? So they're very, very connected. And she went to bed one night. She was fully awake. And she looks and she saw my father sitting on his side of the bed, facing the window. His back was to her. And she's just like, she goes, "That is not right." So she
Mm.
reached out to touch his back and he was solid.
Oh.
And she said he looked different. His clothes were too big for him. Like he just didn't
Oh.
look right. So right there. And then he went, so you can see people project out of their bodies all the time. She goes, "If my hand would have went through him, I would have went, okay, he's just having an, like he's just astral projecting or something. Um, but he was solid and he didn't look right and he didn't behave right. And when my father had first left, it took a few months to get to a point where he really couldn't speak anymore, couldn't do anything,
Mm.
But again, there are stories of ethereal beings or the demonics that do the same thing. They'll project themselves or, to a person, but they never look right. If they'll come out and look to you, look, I'm your husband, for example, your deceased husband. And you're like, you don't look right. The eyes don't look right. Your
Yeah,
clothes
something's
sometimes,
off kilter.
yeah, sometimes the clothes are too big, the hair isn't
Yeah.
right. Or you're dealing with somebody, like they say, oh, dimensionally speaking, if we live simultaneous lives in different dimensions, could it be that person from a different dimension? Or could it just be something projecting what they want you to see? They do that. It's never right. So, this is what he's trying to say with this phenomenon, Nathaniel, that they seem to be able to project any sort of being. And
Jeez.
in fact, there's even researchers out there talking about, some of these religious sightings that they're saying it could very much be
Yeah,
one of this part of this
yeah,
phenomenon, like so, but again, you have masses of people who are there, trying to manifest another sighting. So what is the mass amount of energy that's creating something other than what it is. So you have this beautiful,
yeah,
let's say this holy sighting that could be
yeah.
fully legitimate, and then
Yeah, I
next thing
think
you
I
know,
heard
you're
him.
manifesting something that's
Yes,
like,
I heard Nathaniel say that,
yeah,
when the children were visited, that was a
that
demonic
may have been
may have
well,
been a dem yeah, who
yeah.
knows?
I mean, they say, well, we're going, yeah, show up, so many times.
Yeah,
Thing is what if the sightings? I'm going to go to flip on the. I'll go to the flip side of that coin. What if the original sightings were maybe they were authentic? But what I'm saying is when you're dealing with people on a mass level with
mhm.
intention, that it could create anything or bring anything else in. You really
See, and
have to be
I think
cautious.
that AI is a tulpa too. I truly do. I mean,
Mm,
if you see what it's doing to the kids today, there I saw on the news that a parents are suing because the child walked off the planet because the AI bot told the child to a kill its
yeah.
parents, and then I'm trying to not get us in
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then also to off themselves as well.
Yes.
So there's parents now suing the AI
Yeah.
companies because the bot makers because of this. I
It
mean, it
sounds like
almost
something
seems
like
like
a demonic would sort of
it
do, or a
does.
malevolent spirit would do, they would basically try to
Yes,
work the mindset into to do this. I
yes,
mean,
and it's not just a one-off thing.
no,
This
I
is
mean,
happening all over
serial
the world.
killers. Do you know how many serial
Yeah,
killers have said, "I heard a voice that told me to do this"?
yeah,
Is it all schizophrenic? No, there's a lot of them that are believed to have had attachments at the
absolutely,
time,
absolutely.
you know?
I don't
That that's
know.
a
I
that's
don't
a
know.
whole other show, but oh boy. Like, with respects to
I just
attachments and
yes, yes. I believe that AI is truly it's like this tulpa we created, and we did create it. I mean,
but it just be that it's a program that is easily manifest or manipulated by not just the living, but maybe by the non-living as well.
I believe that's a possibility. I
Yeah.
really do.
So,
And then when I saw those grief bot things, I just said, "That's it. This is just too far. It's just it's
mm,
too much, too far." Like, first
mm,
of all, I couldn't I mean, I know that people are using them and they're pretty popular.
mhm,
I can't imagine someone would find comfort in that. Like maybe they just didn't get closure or something that they have this need to hear the person's voice and have some type of but it's not real. It's not a real sense of
mhm.
closure. And it could be demonic too, very much like we're saying. You just don't know.
I think anything can go in there and, anything can come in. Energy is energy.
Right.
And energy can manipulate energy. It can attach to energy. If you have these beings that can, mess around with electronic street lights, the house lights, the televisions, they can come through radios. They can just manifest or project themselves in different ways. I think you're looking at AI as just being the next level with respect to technology that can be manipulated. If it can be manipulated by the living, we're not as smart as the things that are out there. I'm sorry. I mean, I like to think we are. I think it's our faith that the common sense, like it's spirit that tells you, don't do this or do this, or that sixth sense that goes, the hair on the back of your neck goes, oh, But there are things out there that are ancient and they've been around a really long
Yes.
time, and it's their job to cause all this angst. Let's talk about archons.
Mm,
You want to start getting into some really old stuff and get into things such as like some of the old Gnostic texts. You're getting into these archons. I mean, what are they? For example, what is it with archons? They're said to be parasitic intelligence. These are not they're non-organic, obviously, but they are said to control our thoughts, our memories. We can't seem to get around them because they operate in the mental, the astral realms. They feed on emotion and belief and trauma, and they're known as as the imposters, the counterfeits of reality. So
yeah.
so if you're looking at that, what the hell's real?
Anything, right?
What's real? What's not real? What is
Yeah.
what is like what's feeding on us? What's manipulating us? What are the memories? What are the thought forms? What are all of this? What if it is something a heck of a lot bigger than just manifesting a tulpa? What
How
if
do
there's
you
something
fight that?
bigger?
Yeah. Like, how do you even begin to fight that
You have to understand it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
for me, I've always said like I'm probably, Gnostic probably comes from past lives, but it's always something that I have been able to really associate with. And so I researched it and I delved into it and I started learning about all of this. It took me down a whole other path,
mhm.
So when I sit back now, I'm going, everything we know isn't.
It's so
That's a
true.
whole other show, but
Yeah,
everything we know isn't. Things, when I say all the world's a stage, it really is. All the world is
yeah,
a stage, and you know, there is something so much greater that not only, our creator obviously, but there are things out there that have, to come off as demiurges and just, false gods and the false prophets and these things were not always in human form. These things were, outside of all of that and easy for them, I think, as that level of being to manipulate and you cause so much hardship in one place that it's easy to manipulate the masses because you just leave them in a certain state where it's easy to be. And only those who have a whole lot of faith or people who have a lot of light, people who can kind of rise above that, and it's hard to do in times where, things are purposely kept, where you're feeling, worrisome all the time, the state of stress. It's very difficult to break free from
yeah.
that.
You know what I find interesting too? Like, every now and then when I meet someone new and we start talking, and, like, I'll just weasel in a question about, like, I'll say to them, "Do you ever think about your soul, or do you think about, like, where your soul goes when you die?" Just, like, try to keep it on a
Mhm.
simplistic so they
Yeah.
don't become bonkers. And there are a lot of people that just never think about that stuff. They
Mhm.
go, "No," like, in shock that,
Mhm.
"Well, when I die, I'm either gonna go to heaven or hell." And then I try to, like, dig into that, but it's just amazing to me that, when you think about collective consciousness, is it really a collective like, are
Is it a
people
state of mind? Is it
right,
I people need to understand as well, that we look at how sorry, we were conditioned.
yeah,
'Cause faith will teach you, heaven is above, hell is below, as above, so
yeah,
below, but you maybe need to start thinking dimensionally, or maybe you just need to think that maybe they're not actual places. I mean, if you look at the Bible, I've always said, like the kingdom of God, kingdom of my Father is within you. It's within us. It wasn't a
Yeah.
place per se. We had to look into ourselves for that faith. And I've seen faith and belief do crazy things from one end of the spectrum to the
The
next.
other, yeah.
People have waged wars in the name of God, our creator. That's a true creator would not have you wage war in his name. Absolutely not. So, I think there's a lot there. And again, it's a whole other topic. But I do believe that when it comes to energy,
Mhm.
that energy, again, coming from someone who works with it, is very, very easy. Once you understand it and you understand how to use it, and if you can go to the next step and use ethereals, and I won't say use ethereals, work, better choice of words, work with ethereals,
Mm.
on different levels, not just human, ethereal beings, but there are many. People work with guides, people work with angels, people work with, oh my God, there are so many beings out there that far exceed who we just limit ourselves to think about.
Wayne. He says, "I wasn't born a Christian. That was taught to me. I wasn't born an electrician. That was taught to me. So we're a clean slate when we're born. Everything else is taught to us by another human."
100%. Kind of
That's
like AI.
right.
Just
Right.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So we're taught things. I think I think the conditioning has a lot to do with it. The time we're taught from our parents, they're taught from their parents, the institution of life,
Yeah.
But then every now and then you get those who step out of the box. Maybe you have children who are homeschooled, so they're
Yeah.
taught in different ways, and you notice a really big difference because it's not the conditioning.
Exactly.
It's really it's really, really wild when you really start putting yourself outside the box and start looking in.
Yeah.
Everything is possible on so many wonderful levels, but also on some really dark levels.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just befuddled by the fact that, like, why isn't, like, I mentioned the dark web before. Why
Mm,
don't somebody create the opposite of that? There's enough people that
mm,
can
mhm,
do that, can create something. There's enough of us to be able to do that. But yet you don't see that. And even with tulpas, like I said, that's the thing that puzzles me. Like, I believe they are created by consciousness, absolutely collective but why isn't the opposite? Or am I not seeing that it is created? I'm just like not I'm missing it. I don't know.
mhm.
It because to me there should be balance. There's balance always between good and evil. But it just seems like when it comes to tulpas, it's not that way.
Well, sometimes these things take on the characteristics of the creator, the person who created them. So you need to think about that on that scale.
Mhm.
Is it the people who are maybe more troubled or testing the waters, or is it the people who are at their lowest point thinking, no, like I'm you project it out. A lot of these people don't even realize the Philip experiment and Slender
Yeah.
Man, and these were deliberate things, right? Experiments. They were deliberate things.
I mean, there's
And
no tulpa going around paying people's bills or
no,
doing nice
no,
things for them.
I know.
Like, it's just so weird that
Yeah.
there's there's no opposite of that. I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe we may I don't know, Michelle. Maybe we
Yeah,
could start creating one.
I know, I know. I've gotta get out there
That
and
would
start
be awesome.
working the juju, but
Yeah, exactly.
I think if the world was in a more positive place, it would be a lot different.
That's
Uh,
true, Wayne. It
Yeah.
is created, but we're bombarded by negativity. The news never reports the good girl who saved a
Yeah.
cat. No, they want the that is a fact.
I
That
like
is
the
a fact.
comment he put before that. This is a perfect example of the collective and connections, where he says the collective is strong. Goes, I would say, I was just typing to me, or typing to me, to talk about the incident at the house of the medium, picking up on the man's name. And he goes, I'm tossing it around, and she starts to talk about
Ah, wow.
it.
You two
You
are
know,
totally connected
yeah.
on that
Well,
level,
tulpa,
obviously.
quit trying to tulpa me. Yeah. but it is an example. How many people do you meet sometimes and you do have that connection where you can finish each other's
Oh
sentences?
God, yeah. Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it's a collective thought,
Yeah.
thought form. But I think, like I said, if we were in a better place, maybe you would see some of these more positive things. And I'm sure they're out there. You just ironically don't hear about it, just like you said, right?
Yeah, it's not so much like Wayne was saying, the girl who saves a
Mm,
cat. I see plenty of good people doing wonderful things, and God bless them for that.
mm.
But it's this tulpa thing that has me mystified. It's always the negative. It's always the tulpa that caused the bridge to fall, caused the plane to crash, was seen before the plane it's always like this demonic negative thing.
But is it a tulpa? Like I'm going to use Mothman for example. Is it a
Mhm.
tulpa? Mothman has been seen around natural disasters, nuclear power plants in Japan. Not only was
Yeah,
Mothman allegedly seen, so is a UFO craft allegedly seen. Point Pleasant, the bridge went down. Mothman was seen. Did he cause it,
right.
or was he just the harbinger of warning? People go around for years and years. I mean, for as long as I've been in this field anyway, and I'm sure it's a lot longer. People look at crows and ravens and think, "Oh, they're just evil. They're
Oh
evil birds,
God,
black
no. I
birds,
love
black
them.
cats." If you look into witchcraft, some of it and stuff that I've read show white cats as being more,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that to the witch is familiar. Not just so much the black, but look at crows and messengers. They are messengers. They are keepers of knowledge and messengers from the other side.
Yes, they
The
are.
Norse folklore knew this. I mean, many ancient civilizations, it wasn't all gloom and doom, but it's the first place we go to. Is it because we look at something and make an assumption that, oh, that's just evil?
Well, because we were taught that witches are bad and witchcraft is evil, and that goes hand in hand
Yeah.
with it. And they
But of
want
course
us
we're
to
taught
think,
that.
yeah,
Of
yeah.
course we're taught that. And then there are certain faiths out there that will tell you the psychics, oh, that's just evil. Well, of course they don't want you to know your future. They want you to
No, of
just be
course not.
obedient little sheep.
Exactly.
And I say that I don't say that in a disrespectful way. I'm not saying any specific religion. I'm just saying the powers that be. How do you get I mean, I don't know, would we all be running amok right now without if maybe without guidance and, I'm going to again play devil's advocate. You know, Religion is it's to govern. It's to
Absolutely.
offer a place of like-minded individuals to get together once a week, or it gives you guidelines. And some people need guidelines, but then we have people who are people of faith, who are naturally people of faith with respect to just being spiritual. I can go to a forest and feel closer to my creator than going to four walls where I'm having to give up my hard-earned money every day.
Yeah.
Just like you don't need to do that to be in touch with your creator. You go to a place that the creator designed or created, into the forest with other, like beings, whether it be people, whether it be the animals, or other creations of the Almighty, is where I would feel personally more connected, than let's say, going into a building with four walls, get up, get down, sit down, do this, do this. Like I'm not a robot. But there's some places that just they need that, they love that, and I'm not saying it's the wrong way. I truly, I truly believe that you go and find wherever it is that makes you feel good, like with respects to faith, because don't
Yeah.
go do something
Yeah.
crazy. Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
feel good when I do it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
Right.
just saying that sometimes it's just it's a very social thing as well. I'm more private. So I love to, just to go into the forest and do grounding, but that's also the mediumship part of things for me as well. There's many levels of faith, and I think that it's if it makes you feel really good, then that's what you need to follow, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Wayne is right. People do like he said, look at the paranormal shows. Everybody wants that jump scare that, they want the dirt. Yeah. And that song is kick ass.
Can I tell you how I've spent decades filming
Yeah.
and, I am grateful for the experiences because it has helped people to find me if they've needed my help, but I did not like being stereotyped and thinking all I do is think everything is demonic and it's a demon, it's a demon. I could give 5 answers to one question, but it could be a demon too, right? Can you just say that? I
Wow.
suppose it could be. You know, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, what goes on the cutting room floor what ends up in front of the screen. I had a producer friend of mine say, "Oh, they could splice up all kinds of different words just using your voice and create an entire
Oh,
sentence."
sure.
And
They
that
do
was a
that
guy that
every
was a videographer, producer friend of mine, and I was
Yeah.
kinda like, "So it doesn't really matter what I say, it's
Yeah.
going to come out the way they want it to say it." He goes, "That's exactly what I'm saying." So I was like, "Okay." So for me, I know that's the word that sells. But I know that, for me, I'm one of the most logical people I know, but it does a lot of damage. It's one of the reasons I retired from filming because it's just, you just get so tired of the stereotypical stuff. And a lot of these shows now, they're just disappearing, apparently.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
see a
watch them
lot of
anymore.
them come and go. I
Yeah.
do. But yet I heard that, paranormal ghost shows are more popular than ever right now.
Yeah. A lot of what I've read saying, why are all these shows disappearing? I think they're becoming maybe more specialized, like they're just looking at certain types of stuff. People will always be intrigued. Um, I think with the unknown, different levels of high strangeness, as I call it. But it's just I think it's just our curiosity, our need to the fear factor for sure.
Yeah. I'm just looking at Annette's comment. People don't need a church to pray or feel good, but they do help the sick and poor and help to
Yeah,
stabilize the community. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
100%. Some people, like I say, some people feel good about having that place to go to. I mean, I love, especially when I've traveled around the world, and I always find myself in old, cathedrals and churches. For me, it's the architecture, but it's also the feeling inside of these places. You get that energy, and stone
Yes.
retains energy and memory, and you just touch all of this, and it has an incredible feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I also love that stone tape theory too,
Yes.
because yeah, it's so
It is
darn
wonderful.
true. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is, it is. There have been people who have done experiments, where they've put, voice recorders in places, old
Mhm.
establishments such as old churches and throughout, these different communities, and, you can actually hear you could hear chanting and things like that. So you get the residual for sure, residual injury just imprints in, time and space. But it's so fascinating because, some of these places you get into, like some of the old Templar places, especially where they have the big round stone rooms,
Yeah.
and it's just incredible things. They've picked up on pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah. Do you think you could create your own tulpa? Like, I mean, we talked about, ghosts, and I don't mean that. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think that through like your psychology that you could create your own private tulpa? And maybe it doesn't live outside, but inside. Does that make sense?
I think if your mindset and your will is strong enough, you can most certainly do anything. Realistically, I do believe that you can. I think people do it all the time. I think for myself, I tend to be very on the fence with a lot of it because I've seen people projecting energy. If you can project energy, you can create as well. You can create.
Yeah.
But I get on the fence because I've seen things come in when you have that kind of a mindset and you open up and you're focusing on, creating certain things. There's just too many things. And I think it's because of the state of everything right now where a lot of people's minds are at right now. I think that there are too many things that feed off of that stuff, and there's just too many of them around. I think it's
Now
just
you
way
you
easier for them to come in and give you a helping hand with it.
yeah. Now you do energy work, of course. And have you come close to ever creating something unintentionally while you were doing energy work or
No,
n-
because I've never focused on anything like that. You know, I was I didn't start off, doing light work even though I was able to. I was one of those teenagers that was always very interested in the darker side of things because I grew up, you know, we grew up Roman Catholic, not practicing, we weren't in church every week or anything like that, but it was the faith of my family and extended family and we
yeah,
went to Catholic
me too.
primary school. So, you just, you just what you learn. And I started, I mean, I had something around me to start with, so I think it was a part of the manipulation of that, but I learned very early on what I could do with energy work, very early on. It was very easy for me to do almost like instantly. So, was it a matter of creating something? Was it a matter of manifesting things? I'm sure I had a degree of poltergeist activity that went on in there too because I could throw energy like nobody's business. So,
Yeah.
it would not have been out of the norm for me to do that. I was an AT experiencer. I had the blend of everything, and only now do I really have an understanding of the things that, that were going on that I didn't at the time, but I realized that I was very much in control over what I could do, energy speaking. So, could 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 we create tulpas? Very easily, I think. I think if you are just the right condition or well trained, one of the two. If you got together with a group of people and said, "Let's just do this," you'll do it
Yeah. I
because it's
think
the
so too.
power and of
Yeah.
that intention,
Yeah.
and when you have it as a group, it can happen. Doing it as an individual, man, you'd have to be very diligent or very versed.
Yeah. I mean, I know just on a personal level, like if I want to go in a store and not be seen or bothered by anybody, like, and I'll use Walmart as an example because
Mhm.
I don't like shopping in there. No, who does? But not my favorite place. But I do go there because they have great prices and lots of things that
Yeah.
other stores don't. But like, I will intentionally set out, before I go in there to put like a dome over myself
Mhm.
so that nobody sees me, bothers me, talks to me, and it works.
Mhm.
It
'Cause it's intention.
yes, it works.
Mhm.
Because even the times that I forget to do that,
Mm.
it's so interesting to see the like I've had enough of that happen to compare where somebody will just bump into you and have an attitude or something and I'll go, "Darn it, I forgot to put a bubble over myself." But I've done that enough to be able to compare and contrast when I do it and when I don't do it.
Mhm.
And I'm convinced that it works when you do it. Like and
Absolutely.
anybody could do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you took that same type of energy and every single day you started to put it into manifesting, into creating something like you do
Right.
the dome, you can definitely do it. It
Yeah.
just takes focus and intention.
Yeah.
So that's it's not difficult. In fact, I think it happens all the time. There's probably all kinds of stuff out there in the ether that have been projected. It's just not labeled.
Exactly.
Yeah, you ask some people who can manifest. Some people say
Yeah.
poltergeist. Some people will
Yeah.
say tulpa. A lot of people, it's incredible to me, even how many people I've come across in the field who really don't know what tulpas are. People say, "What is that?" Oh,
Yeah.
well,
What?
it's this or this. It's just not a common thing. Yeah, but you say Slender Man. Oh, I know what Slender Man
Yeah,
is.
that's
That's a
true.
tulpa. Yeah.
Exactly. That's so true. Heidi makes a good point. Two people, yes. And she's been bubbling up forever. And
Yeah.
interesting, she's incorporated sigils and intentions are huge. Yes. And I wanted to ask you about this sigil thing because I know Nathaniel is like huge. We talked about that when I had him on the show, and they scare me a little bit, the sigils.
Mm.
Um, they they're just too a little too demonic for me. And I just don't like and I don't mean the ones you visualize, I guess. Maybe the ones that appear like you have appear on your body.
Mhm.
And I've seen a lot of videos and heard stories of people,
Mhm.
getting sigils from like satanic practices and stuff. That scares
Yeah.
me.
I think you have to understand with sigils, some of them can be good, some of them can be bad. Um, you look at some sigils. I think when people think sigils, they often think about, the ones Solomon created for names of demons. The name of this demon is blah 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 blah. So
Yeah.
you end up this is a sigil. But Nathaniel does make a good point. I mean, sigils just appearing on
Mm.
people, inside the eyelids, things like that. It's pretty
Yeah.
frightening. You have to wonder where they're coming from for sure. But I know people who use sigils for protection. I know people who've had them
Yeah,
branded on
that's
them and
true.
they're protection sigils. So
I mean, an ankh is an ankh a sigil or a symbol? I don't
an
know.
Anka is just it's a
It's a
symbol.
symbol because I have so many like ankh
Yeah.
necklaces.
Yeah.
So that's not
I
a
have
a
I have them
sigil.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't a sigil like something that has to appear on your like, what's the difference between a symbol and a sigil? Maybe that's the better
Well, the
way to
sigils, I mean, these are something that it's created somewhere for sure. I mean, Solomon created a sigil for every primary demonic, right?
Yeah.
And that's just basically the name. Some of them have different numbers or symbols on them and mean different things.
Mhm.
Sometimes it works with, the moon, it works with the sun, the stars. Like
Yeah.
they tend to be, it would have to be a whole show just on sigils because,
It's that
dissecting
intense.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even that, I mean, I've never put personally a lot into them. I do have books with them, and again, it's just something that I think of, Egyptian crests, hieroglyphs, and
Yeah.
things like that. Cartouches, which you have these different symbols that just represents the name or represents the life of a king. This is the king's name, and this is who he was, and all in one cartouche. I think that it tends to be. Again, it just tends to be something that I, like a Solomon, created them. Solomon was a man. So do we have when Nathaniel talks about the phenomenon, he's the best person to talk to about it. But
Yeah.
you talk about this phenomena, it's just, you know, they're finding on the inside of your eyelid, they're finding sigils. Well,
That's
who put it
crazy.
there? What put it there? Was it an ethereal that put it there? Demonic that put it there? It's a certain other races of beings that are floating around dimensionally that come into our time, our space, and do things like this. Um, you know, he's definitely the guy that's going to answer all those
Yeah.
questions for you.
So the mark of the beast that's biblically known, 666 by everybody, that's a sigil, is that not correct? Isn't that
Mm.
that's
Well,
more of
no,
a sigil or
again, that's a number I feel has the mark of the beast to me. I did a show on it, and I'd have to dig out my stuff on that specifically.
Mhm.
But when you look at the mark of the beast, it's a sign of the times that you're in. Right?
Yeah,
I think that time, is it being forced on us because it's, people but we read the book of Revelations, "Oh, we're gonna make this happen right now.
yeah,
We're gonna create this in this time and space." Some people will tell you that there are different things that could be the mark. It could be, a chip, could
a
be
chip,
could
yeah,
be
the forehead,
anything. Anything could be the mark,
yeah.
right? But I mean, Yeah, like Heidi says, 6 in numerology suggests reflection. When you start
Yeah.
adding that up, put that in now as, you know, not 6, 12, 18. Like start looking at the different meanings of the numbers themselves. I think there's been so much conditioning that has taken place over our lifetime, right down into who we are, where we come from, and
Mhm.
why we can't break free.
Oh, gosh, that's so well said.
There's a lot. Yeah, that's
It
right.
is.
Tesla said, the sacred numbers of the universe,
Yeah,
369,
369, yeah.
right? And they
I don't know.
all,
Yeah,
right? It comes out to 18 again, ironically.
yeah,
So, I think there's just a lot through educating oneself that
yeah.
you will find those answers. Um, it's I don't know it all. I've never really gotten into the whole sigils thing. It's not like I don't have stuff on
No,
it.
it was Nathaniel that got me
Yeah,
in it.
that's what I'm saying. He's definitely the
Yeah.
best person. You probably listen to your archive. I've got archives on that specifically, and it is pretty wild, but it definitely makes you wonder what's out there, who's doing
Yeah,
it.
I mean, since we're so capable of creating so much more
Mhm,
than we know, maybe we truly are creating all this stuff, Michelle. Like, if you think about it, our thoughts are supposed to be our own,
mhm,
right? I mean, you would think,
mhm.
but yet think of all the crap that we think of all day, and then you go, "Why did I think that? That's not my thought. That's not my thought." Like, where do they come from then?
It goes to show you it's part of the collective, and it's funny too. I just read something today, ironically, which said scientists believe that our brains are all connected,
Hmm.
and I'd be thinking, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Can you put all that into the collective? But let's use another example for a collective consciousness. There's this theory, and again, Joe and I've talked about this, where people, especially contactees, have these what they call apocalyptic dreams,
Mhm.
but they're all very much the same. They're on a place with red sand.
Mm.
Things are on fire. They're just like it. They all say, "No, it was Mars. It was Mars. It was Mars."
Oh, wow.
Many of these people, I think it's believed that 80 to 90% of them say, "No, it felt like it was somewhere else, like on another planet. It was like Mars." So you're looking at a group of individuals, whether this is contactees or not. Maybe this is just past life. Maybe this
Yeah.
comes from a time of if we were all from Mars at one point and we all ended up here, maybe we're having this collective memory of end times there.
Is that a collective dream that they're having of being on Mars? And because I haven't heard of that.
Well, because there's a belief that it happens to abductees, contactees, or
Oh, is
ET
that right?
experiencers that one of the similarities that they're noticing with some of these people um, happens to be these apocalyptic dreams in a
Mm,
place that they say, no, it looked like Mars, the red
yeah.
sand, it was Mars. And I don't know, is this a collective thing, or it's just something that it's embedded in all of those who were there? I've had them. Wayne's had them. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who have had them, and I'm thinking, have you had any extraterrestrial experiences? Is this an ET thing, or is this just something embedded in our subconscious, and some of us collectively share the memory?
And that it's getting, like, activated somehow that
That and many things. I'm just
yeah,
using that one specific as an example.
mm,
There could be a lot of different things that are going on out there. So there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff out there you can tap into to the hive mind, the
yeah,
whole collective consciousness, and
yeah.
I truly believe this in doing energy work to the collective consciousness. I'll sit and spend days after that just sort of watching the world with respects to posts and things like that. Like I said, I've used trigger words and seeing or songs, how they've come up. I say, God, this is a
Oh yeah.
crazy song I haven't heard in years, and I'll put it into the collective. I'll just vocalize it a few times. That's all you have to do. And next thing you know,
Oh, that's the
it's
truth.
coming up all over the place. I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Ha, this is awesome." You
And it
know?
really is, like, my sister and I have been playing with that for a long time, and, like, she'll go, "Let's say full stop a lot
Yeah,
and see what happens." So, like,
yeah.
after we would talk, we would go, "Full stop, I don't wanna hear it," and we would just use it a lot, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it's on the news, it's on the social media, and we would crack
See?
up, and
See?
she'd go, "See, there it
It
is." Like,
works.
it
It
does work.
works. It
Yeah,
it is it's pretty incredible when you think
yeah,
about the power of it all. And if everybody took good intentions and positive content every single day, even if half of us did it, even if a small percentage of us did it,
right.
over time, it would be contagious and
Yeah,
it would just go. But there's
yeah,
so many people who are worried for many different reasons, maybe we don't have a job, maybe, we have to move, maybe there's so many
yeah,
different reasons. But the thing is that that's what's being those are the thoughts and the thought forms, since we're talking
yeah.
tulpas and such, the thought forms, these thoughts that are constantly being flooded into the collective consciousness. And there's
They have
some
a life.
people, I'm not the only person who does this type of energy work. There's thousands of people out there who do it, but the thing is that it goes to show you just how many more are putting in these
Yes.
negative thoughts, and it's not intentional. It's just where everybody's head's at. So many people are in that headspace, and it's creating something entirely different, you
So let
know?
me ask you a question. It may seem silly, but I'd like to get your opinion. So we have the dark web, like we talked about. Now, say hypothetically, we created a light web,
Mm,
and it was full of everything magical and wonderful, and people like this in our community doing this type of thing and just sharing all this wonderful information. Do you think it would be nearly as popular as the dark web? Do you think it would get as much attention, or would it be like Wayne said before, nobody wants to hear about the lady who rescued the cat? So, like, I don't know. What do you think?
I'll give you 2 sides of the coins. I
Yeah,
think over time, it would be a wonderful thing if people could become aware of it and use it and go, God, yes, I feel good about it. And all of a sudden the vibration starts to climb, and people start to, it's like a domino effect. It just spreads out. And that's what would be ideal. But on the other side of the coin, you'd be starving these things out there that need and feed off of this darker energy,
mm,
including, the archons or demonics or whatever these ethereal beings are that feed off of this type of energy. They need
right.
to keep that energy going. They need to keep manifesting that. And in doing that, that means, we put a nice positive space, and here's incredible ways of healing ourselves, going out,
Yeah,
walking in the forest and grounding and picking this type of a flower, and you eat that, it'll help you feel like this. And you're eliminating all of this and this. Well, now you have people with a lot of this at stake, right? A
mm,
lot of financial at stake going, oh, we can't have that now because
ah,
that's bad for business. So do you
yeah,
see?
like they did already.
So so you're looking at a lot more reasons as to why they would not allow it to happen.
Right.
But you know what? You don't need a light web because you are the light web. All you need to do is project it outward and deliberately say, I'm putting this into the collective consciousness. I'm putting out these incredible thoughts and just watch it unfold. It's
I
just
love that
thoughts like
answer.
you are powerful, you are loved, and you can persevere. And that's the part of the journey. This was what they tell you. It's just like you want to break away from this whole thing is you have to rise above the fear, and you have to just trust in your creator. You just have to trust that things will be okay. Live in the moment for yourself. Don't live with everything that's going on around you. That's
Exactly.
why you have so many things out there trying to
Yeah,
put it out there every single day, even just on the regular web, just television, just watch it, watch it, watch it,
absolutely.
you know?
We're just
And
propagating it and feeding it and giving the beast exactly what it wants.
there's some communities, you look at the Mennonite community, for example, there's many of them that they don't believe in television. There's a lot of communities out there that don't believe in having just like television. No, we will teach you. You're going to do this. You're going to do
Right.
that. And, you know, they don't fall into all that fear, but it's a very different lifestyle. Right.
Yeah,
So, but and I'm just using that as one example.
yeah,
If you lived out on an island somewhere or in an island community and there's no television, man, you would be living blissfully. I mean, you have the hardships, of course, you're trying to survive, this and that, but there
yeah.
are some that do. Food gets brought in. If they don't have it, they
Sure.
just choose not to
It's
get
like really
into.
off the grid. They're like
Yeah,
really,
they
yeah,
off the grid, they're off the grid.
yeah.
That simple.
I don't know. It seems like the thing to do. I mean, I
Mm,
know people that can't live without TV. Like,
sure.
I shop with someone, like, we'll be in the grocery store and she's got her cell phone with the news on as we're shopping
Oh
around.
boy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't care for the news. I
yeah,
can read it. I take times, I'll read it, you
yeah,
know, um, and I use independent. And I will go in and I will read things and be just like, okay, good to be aware, good to be aware. The only
exactly.
time I ever watch television is probably just before bed so I can wind down and watch
Exactly.
something brainless or just nice.
Exactly.
And I don't have to, I can shut this down because this is a freaking machine.
Yes. And
So
sometimes it doesn't want to shut off.
it doesn't. And it does go, 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 which again tells you that you're
Oh,
manifesting that. Aw, thanks,
sweet.
Heidi. We do our best. We do our best. Yeah. So
But yeah, yeah, at night it's good to wind down and just watch a mindless show,
positive
and
thoughts.
yep,
And
yeah,
chances are you'll have positive dreams, positive interactions. Your mind will be in a better place where you maybe can connect with other beings. It's the best time for you to do all of this connecting, and manifesting. And then you wake up the next day when you fall asleep that way and you sleep that way, then you wake up that way.
yeah,
It's so important.
yeah, it really is.
So,
I don't know, I'm just fascinated by the whole tulpa thing that we could, and that those are just a few of the examples. There's a lot more
there are.
of that have been,
Yeah.
created. And obviously the internet now is another driving force. Like there's a certain cryptid, I can't remember what it's called. It's a nasty thing and it crawls on like all fours. And I've seen again video of it
The
before.
crawler,
What is it?
the crawlers,
It's like a crawler, but there's a name for it. It'll come to me.
the
But
the crawlers are these big, like, they have long limbs and they kind
oh
of
no,
go
no,
like.
they're gross too. They're awful.
You're
Are
talking
they
about wraiths?
what are they?
Are they wraiths?
Yeah, it's like a wraith.
The
That's it.
wraiths.
Those
Yeah.
things are now, are they tulpas too? Those
I
night crawlers and those like, what in God's name are those things?
I think that people can create just about you can create anything you
Anything?
want. You can, especially if you go by the theory, which we're talking about tonight, the whole simulation hypothesis or the matrix,
Yeah,
if that's the case, it's hard to really put out all of that stuff. You think about it, put it out there. Yes. Or wraiths, rakes. They
great.
have rakes as well. Yes.
Right, right.
Uh, but you know, I don't know that from my mind, I'm pretty logical, and I believe that maybe there are things out there that are cryptids that are being
Yeah,
manifested, but I think that there's just too many. I don't believe in coincidence. There's just too many that are out there too. And I believe this planet has had life long before us. I believe that there are things out there that have existed long before us, that they come from other places, whether they're multidimensional beings, whether they're just coming through portals, whether they're just
Yeah.
somehow breaking through. I truly think that that option for me resonates more than to think that I'm creating the Mothman.
Exactly.
Like it's too easy. This planet has a lot of natural vortices, which things could come in and out. Big vortex is natural,
Absolutely.
comes
Portals
in and out.
everywhere.
We can create portals so easily just ourselves.
Yeah.
Some people don't even realize that they're creating doorways, that again, things can come in and out. But there's also so many places here that are natural power spots. A lot of these sacred places were built on
Ley
because
lines, things like
ley
that.
lines, because you can travel back and forth.
Yeah.
Solomon's temple itself was said to have had a portal. I mean, they talked about it. Maybe the ark was creating it. Who knows? But the fact is,
Mhm.
it's believed when they were seeing, these angelic people coming, from this portal into the temple, and that people from the temple were able to just go through. I mean, if you're getting into that, if any of that at all is accurate, then I'll tell you something. You are pretty much, you know, you have to explore the fact that they're everywhere. This is a big planet. There are parts of it that are completely unexplored.
Yeah.
But deep the oceans, the cave systems. Let's talk about inner Earth or the whole Middle Earth. There are ways in. There are definitely there's things there.
Oh,
Look at cave in
absolutely.
Cambodia, and has its own ecosystem, and there's a really rare black panther that they've seen that lives there, and it never comes out of that place. And they know, they're like, we think that is this thing here, and it's there.
Wow.
What else are we not seeing?
See,
There's
that
too
makes
much to
more
it.
sense to me too, the portal thing and the dimensional thing, coming
Mhm.
in and out of and I think Bigfoot probably does that too.
It's a
Because
very
some
strong
people are saying
theory.
Bigfoot's a tulpa, I'm like, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. There's just
Yeah,
too many all over the world in some very remote
exactly.
places. I won't say that people haven't created a Bigfoot tulpa because they can, or they believe that's what they're seeing, and they just adding characteristics, and maybe it's a thing. But I think on an average, I don't believe that that the base of them is tulpa,
I
for what
agree.
it's worth. Yeah,
I agree totally. And I like what Wayne said, knowledge is power. That's why it's always been hidden from the masses. That's so true.
100%.
And it's, history's been corrupted, polluted,
Mhm,
thwarted. I mean, you name it, you
mhm,
know. And I think it's wonderful that we're discovering, we're finding our way out of that, out of the muddy waters of lies that have been told to us for centuries.
mhm,
So, and that's why I love being a part of this community because everybody is doing that. And, on this network, we're all fighting to get, the message out there. And if it doesn't resonate, then it doesn't resonate. But if it
mm,
does, that's a blessing to me, you
mhm,
know. And
mhm.
even having these types of conversations, especially with you, Michelle, it's always a blessing for me. It really
Aw, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I like sharing the information. I'm not an expert in
yeah,
any of this stuff. I don't believe in experts in a lot of this stuff. I believe there are people out there who have it pretty darn spot on. But when you're dealing with things that are unexplained, if you don't have it right smack in front of you, this is just is it a perception of our reality? It's just all we could do is speculate. I think Bigfoot is one of the more um, common cryptids that a lot of people research because
yeah,
they just turn up more. People see them, Dogman,
yeah,
things like that. But there are some out there that you can go back and just let's look at the indigenous oral history. They'll tell you there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's all
yeah,
kinds of them, and that there are places that on this planet where it's like a ground zero for many of these things. I often think of, Don Yazzie and Darren Yazzie from Don't Whistle at Night, one of the shows on our network here, and they're on the Navajo Nation. And honestly, when he started chiming off things that he had seen, and he'll bring on indigenous folks from many different
Yeah.
indigenous communities, not just the Navajo, and they all pretty much say the same things. So if you have this incredible place, because they're a few hours from Skinwalker Ranch and Blind Flock Ranch, up on along that the whole Mesa area, um, and a lot of the same things are appearing. So it doesn't strike me that the Navajo people would just be manifesting these things. The Hopi wrote about things as well. They have all of this rock art and petroglyphs, and it's these things have been seen for a really long time. They talk about their ancestors seeing some of these things. So you have these extremely spiritual and very connected people
Yeah.
are indigenous, very, very connected. And I don't think they need to manifest it, that they basically have access to, you know, hundreds of years, if not thousands of years
Yeah.
of their legends, but things
I
that they're
mean,
still seeing.
they are, and the Skinwalker itself could be a tulpa, no? It could have been created by
Not
who
if you ask
knows, right?
not if you ask the indigenous.
Yeah,
Not if you ask them,
yeah.
they'll tell you straight up, "Nope, this is exactly what it is. Bam, 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 bam."
I don't know the origin story of the Skinwalker too well
Yeah.
to know, like, how it or, like, what the origins were of it, but
Oh, you need to talk to Don. Have him
yeah,
on.
I'd
He's
love
wonderful.
to.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you, I think with that, you're getting into a place. I'll talk about the Navajos. And Heidi says, yeah, Navajo Nation's on the four corners: Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona. All are very highly energy uh, power spots.
Mhm.
Arizona is like through the roof,
Yeah.
especially. But when you're looking at this, he says there is an entrance there to the inner earth.
Mm.
So what's coming out of there?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Don's been on. Just go back and listen to the couple of
Oh,
shows he's done with us. I mean, the things that he's come out with, I just sit there and kind of like, crap. Giant spiders, 5 feet
oh,
big
jeez.
spiders. I mean, no, the things he's saying. Oh yeah, I turned around. There was a goat man beside me. What? I can't even fathom the amount of experiences
Yeah.
that he himself has had and other people within his community have had. And this is something that goes on, especially out in the Midwest. I mean, but the indigenous, even up through Canada, getting into Aboriginals and indigenous throughout different parts of the world, they
Yeah.
all have their own version of the same stories. Something is up with that. That's not just thought creation, because
Yeah,
these
it
are
can't
stories that
be.
have gone on for thousands of years, hundreds within, on the grand scheme of our existence as a whole, at this kick at the can sort of thing, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot there. That goes far beyond Tulpa.
Yeah.
Not that people don't do it. Oh, I know there's something there, and I know, and you put enough thought into anything, you can create whatever
Absolutely.
thought form you want to.
You create your own boogeyman.
We've seen tons of examples of that. Tons of them.
And that's a scary premise if you think about it. You know, I mean, I know just personally, I've created a lot of boogeymen that are just awful that I had to banish out of my head because they
Mhm.
were starting to become real, like in the
Mhm.
real world. Like, and it would be weird because I'd get to a point where I'd be walking up the stairs and did it enough to scare the poop out of myself
Mm.
where I could hear footsteps behind me.
Mm.
And I know I wasn't hearing that in my imagination.
Yeah.
So, we're capable of creating anything.
Mhm.
So true. So true.
Because we're powerful
Yeah.
beings, you know? I think people forget that we're energy beings having a human experience. We really are. So you take away the physical
Yeah.
and you see what's left is this incredible energy source that can create anything. If you could project that energy outside of your physical, you can create. If you have the kind of mindset, or something frightens you enough, or something motivates you enough,
Yes.
you can most
Yes.
certainly
You
create.
can create.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I look at some of the things that I've been able to do just with energy my whole life, and I grew up like that, like I said, I know my grandfather says, "Oh, well, we're energy movers. We can do anything with energy." And yeah, I didn't get a scope of that into adulthood, but it's pretty fascinating, just to see what you can do with it. And I never lose sight of the fact that that ability has come from my creator,
Yeah.
and I reach it from inside, not from up here. I reach it
Right.
and I pull that energy from within myself, and that is a gift. It's why when you have gifts like that, you have to always do something good with it. You have to pay it
Yes.
forward. You have to. Easy come, easy go. I've always said it. It's very important.
Yeah. And your work is such a reflection of that, Michelle. It really is.
Thank you.
It's such a reflection of who you are and what you've devoted your life to doing. And it's helping so many people too.
It takes you down some roads. Let
Yeah.
me tell you. I mean, where I started off with energy work and just try I mean, I'm glad I can do both. You have to be able to do both. I think it gives you a better understanding, um, but it's very fulfilling. It's very fulfilling for all involved, I think. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, but again,
Absolutely.
it's a gift that is bestowed upon all of us. I truly believe, that God, our creator, I believe had didn't send us all here helpless. But
Yeah.
there's this cruel joke of not being able to remember why we're here, where we came from.
Right.
It's like, why?
That
You
is a
know?
cruel
So,
joke.
I've had spirits say to me, even through communications, even through technology, saying, I'll say, "Well, what about this? You know this. Stop it." "No, I don't know. I wouldn't be asking. Stop telling me to stop it. Because if I remembered it, I wouldn't be asking. Stop it. You
Right.
know this. You know this." "Oh, I don't know." So it does get very frustrating that way. So apparently
Yeah.
we know this, but we are a species with amnesia, it would also seem. So, another reason why the collective is so important, I think, we are all one. We are all connected through this giant collective consciousness, this incredible thing that if there are those out there who are like, no, this is who we are, put it out there. And people need
Yeah.
to awaken. They need to right now. It's very crucial. And you just might see more and more of that positiveness that you're saying, why can't we do this? We can. We all have the ability to do it. We forget who we are, we forget where we come from, we forget what we can do.
Yeah. Don't they have a way of measuring those global meditations that I used to hear of them a lot? I don't know if they're still doing them
I'm
where,
sure they are.
all of yeah, but I know they had a way of measuring that too
That
globally.
energy.
Yeah, and
I
it was
don't
always
know.
incredible.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess there are people, who do. I've never really heard much about the technique in measuring something like that. I can tell you that, when I do energy work, I know how it makes me feel from an energy standpoint,
Yeah,
depending on what you're doing. But especially, in the last year, it's been very eye opening because it's expanded
mm,
so much. But I've always said it's just not something that I just come up with out of my head, like, oh, I'm going to do this. There's many times I'm doing it and I really don't know where it comes from. It was just like always being able, to say, working even as a team, just say, okay, we need to do this and this. Well, how do you know it's gonna work? I have no freaking clue. But
yeah,
if I'm being shown it, it's going to work, and it's having the faith that it's going to work. So I think that we are most certainly, able to able to tap into that. We are capable of doing that, and it's really important. So collective consciousness is just another benefit of it, helping each other out.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
there. So it's all a possibility. It's there for the taking. Apparently, it's like riding a bike. I've never
I
had to do it, yeah.
don't know about that, but
But you
I
know
do
what? When you
know.
start doing it, Caroline, you remember somehow.
Mm.
You just do it. You just do it.
That's so true because I remember when I used to meditate like all the time when I was younger, and then I didn't do it for decades.
Mm,
And then I started doing it again now, like the past year, a lot. And it's so true. Even in meditation, you remember,
mhm.
like it just comes back, like that feeling and that it's hard to describe, what
I
I'm
do
talking
know it.
about.
I
Yeah.
do. I
And
do.
and and you just get this overall sense of peace and while your energy feels low, it's almost like rising at the same time.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
It's very energizing. It's
Yeah.
very energizing, it's
I
hard to
forget how
explain until
wonderful.
you
Yeah,
experience it. But,
exactly.
always remember there are people out there who focus their energy work on many, many different levels. And, there are people out there who are like magicians, and they're dark magicians or light
Yeah.
magicians. They're
Yeah.
very good at what they do,
Yeah.
and that is where their focus is, and a big misconception, I mean, I think this is the real seasoned um, people, magician type, the real seasoned ones will they know how to use dark energy for
Yeah.
good. They do know how to do that. That's not hard to do. You just have to want to do it. I think there's some out there that just nope, I won't stray from this is what it is. Like, and I mean, I don't get involved in all the schematics of that. For me,
Yeah.
I work with the energy. That's just what I do. I don't go through a lot of the steps, the ceremonial things. I think you just get to a point where you're just showing what to do. You instinctively know what to do with it. But there are people who are very, very focused, and very, very powerful people. So
Do you think
it's
they can use dark energy for good? They can
sure,
manipulate it? Wow.
sure. No, you can do that. Energy, and I think again, this is a whole other show. I think a lot of what we're taught is backwards.
Yeah.
A lot of what we're taught is backwards, and a lot of that comes from conditioning of newer institutions. Maybe amalgamation,
Yeah.
culturally speaking, throughout the centuries, throughout the thousands of years.
Yeah. To keep
Um,
us ignorant and, stupid,
yeah,
stupid,
yeah, you keep
bunch of sheep.
portions of it, and I do think that, for example, when the church came to be, when it came into
Mhm.
power, or the Romans, and like when Christianity, was coming into play, and they would come out and they would, take over this area. They'd be battle it, we got it, you're ours, and they would take a lot of the cultural stuff from these places, and they would incorporate it into their own traditions. That's why I think a lot of our ancient traditions are mixed, which is it's always fascinating to me, how they do it, and what they kept and what
Yeah.
they didn't keep, but what they publicly didn't keep. Because a lot of these really ancient cultures, they had, magic was not something that was just a word. There were practitioners of these
Oh, yeah.
things it was very, very real, you know? So when you start looking at some of that stuff and you start delving into these possibilities and these theories, it's like, just remember all these powers that be at the helm. There's a lot of ancient knowledge out there locked away in private
Sure.
libraries in the Vatican, or that have come out of the old mystery schools, or that may have come out of old, hidden libraries, and how much was taken out of the Library of
Yeah.
Alexandria before it was sacked,
Oh
and
god,
by the
yeah.
Christians, by the way.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
you have to really think back. This is a very ancient thing. And
Yeah.
tulpamancing is not, it's no different. It's a very ancient thing. It's just because it's an energy thing, and working together, as a collective, like the Slender Man phenomena, for
Yeah.
example, even the Philip experiment, when you're getting into just a few people working together, the
Right.
power of the mind and that energy and that projection and the will to want to do it, you can do incredible things.
And on that note, what incredible things do you have lined up for today,
Ha.
this week?
Well, tonight, of course, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's open mic, and we're going to be talking about the simulation hypothesis, the matrix, things like that. So we'll touch on things from the film, because there's actually a lot of historical stuff in there, and there's a lot of the conspiracy stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of symbolism in movies and things like that, but we'll examine that, and we'll examine, you know, the different theories that surround it. So, like always, open mic is always relaxing, and we just hang with our people and chat, and we all have a parlay about everything wild and beautiful. So that's
Awesome. When is that tonight? Is that
tonight,
tonight?
9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. So pop in,
Awesome.
say hi, join in the chat, and just have some fun.
Yes, do that for sure. And then I have tomorrow Brandon Martin back, who I find to have one of the most incredible historical knowledges, and he's just one of the most delightful people that I've spoken to. We're going to be talking about Beyond the Illusion, Demystifying Truth and Perception. He's very much into natural law and stuff like that. It's such a good topic. I love
Love
it.
it.
So
Love
that's
it.
tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Michelle, thank you
Excellent.
so much. I absolutely loved this conversation. Thank you, as I
Thank
do
you.
everyone with you.
Thank you.
And I
It's always
can't
a
wait.
pleasure.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait for our next one.
Me too.
I know we have, I think in October scheduled the conspiracy theories thing, right? We have
We
that.
do. We
I think it's
have
in
do we
October.
have I have to look at my phone. I don't have it
Yeah,
all
you'll
in
have
front
to
of me.
check. I love doing them. They are so
Yeah,
fun.
they are fun. I don't know if have we had one for October, because October is spooky month.
Oh, I know you gave me a date. You'll have to double
Oh,
check
we
that.
have November 11th.
Oh, it's November.
Yeah.
October spooky.
So I know, spooky month. We have to do spooky things.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, so
Love the spooky things.
spooky things. I love it. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks to
yes,
everyone in the chat as always. Thank you guys so much for hopping in and making it all that much better. And Michelle, thank you again so much. Love you
pleasure.
dearly.
Love you too. Thank you.
Talk to you soon, dear.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So thank you everyone again. I greatly appreciate you. As always, I really enjoyed this topic and I hope you did too. And I want to leave you with a final thought. Perhaps the most profound paranormal mystery isn't a ghost in a haunted house or a spaceship in the night sky. Perhaps it's our very nature of our own minds. And I believe that to be true, as you just heard from our wonderful conversation. Thank you all again in the chat. And I will see you tomorrow at 3. God bless you all. Take care. Bye bye.